Hello everyone, welcome to the session on. In this session, we will look at who are the different international regulations when it comes to anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism, and we'll also look at some of the regulations. Now, talking about the main intention or the main purpose of regulation, this regulators or regulations is to prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. The measures which actually helps in preventing money laundering, we call this as a AML, and that is anti-money laundering measures, and the measures which actually talks about the combating financing of which controls the terrorist financing, we call this as CFT, combating financing of terrorist activities. Now, the first and foremost important organization when it comes to managing AML KYC is Financial Action Task Force, which is also known as a FATF. Now, FATF is a global body which is responsible for managing money laundering, which is found with the intention of preventing money laundering and terrorist financing. Now, the FATF has totally about 20, which is actually formed in the year 1989 during the G7 meet, and currently the FATF has about 39 members, and the entire European Union, all the European Union countries and OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, are considered to be members. Now, FATF is the primary body, the main global body which helps the countries to prevent the money laundering and terrorist financing. Now, time to time basis, the FATF will release their regulations and they keep perform the recommendations. Now, FATF have released about 40 recommendations. Of 40, 30 regulations speaks about combating money laundering, and about 9 regulations they speak about managing terrorist financing. The second organization when it comes to managing money laundering or controlling money laundering or terrorist financing is Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. So basically, Egmont Group is a global network of financial intelligence unit, what we call as a FIUs. Now, FIUs are basically the one which helps in combating economic or financial crimes in a country. For example, in US, there is an organization called as a FinCEN, FINCN, FinCEN and FINRA, or the FIUs which manage the FIs of US. And another example in India, the Enforcement Directorate ED is a FI in India. So, Egmont Group is basically an organization or a network of all these financial institutions, and this is primarily formed to enhance the cooperation among the FIUs in managing and controlling money laundering and terrorist supply. So, the second organization after FATF is Egmont Financial Group. The third organization it talks about is International Monetary Fund. Now, the International Monetary Fund primarily being a major global financing institution which actually provides money for provides funding for various countries. So, IMS also comes with the various regulations. Now, the third third regulatory body is IMF. Next comes the World Bank. Very similar to IMF, the World Bank is also focused on borrowing and lending money and other financial activities. So, the World Bank also recommends a series of AML or anti-money laundering and CFT measures which need to be undertaken by the banks for particular country. Next, we have UNODC, that is United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. This is basically a body which aims at controlling crimes which is related to drugs and other financial crimes. Then very important after is United Nations. Now, United States have a series of anti-money laundering and CFT laws. For example, some of the laws like Patriot Act of US Patriot Act of 2001, which is basically formed after the terrorist attacks in US, primarily aims at prevention of terrorist financing. The US also has BSA, Bank Secrecy Act, basically which requires the the entities to publish on time-to-time basis about the customer holdings. Next organization we have UK. Now, UK is another important country which is when it comes to money laundering, prevention of money laundering and terrorist financing. Now, very similar to UK, US also has their own set of laws. It is called as Regulations of 2017, which focuses on preventing money laundering and terrorist financing. Now, when it comes to European Union have their own AML-LD laws, which is anti-money laundering directives. So basically, this is focused on European Union and the countries which belongs to European Union. And AMLD regulations, they keep providing recommendations to the bank from time on time. So now for Japan, when it talks about Japan, right? Japan has laws which is focused on we call this as a APTCP, that is Act on Prevention of Transfer of Criminal Proceeds. Also Japan's FIU, JAFIC, which actually plays a major important role in prevention of money laundering and terrorist financing. And finally, talking about India's example, India, we have PMLA Act of 2002, which is Prevention of Money Laundering Activity of 2002, which mainly aims at managing money laundering and terrorist financing activities. So to summarize, in this video, we have seen some of the international regulatory bodies and some of the regulations. Thanks for your time.